Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? It's Dakanoth here, and today we're going to go over how to basically pick which 3 familiars you should get when you're starting out. So let's get into it. So to begin with the new familiar update, it is pretty much geared in such a way that I personally have already picked out the 3 familiars I think just about anybody probably ought to get. So to start off with, I think you ought to get the Trickstar, I think you ought to get Gem and Gremlin, and I think you need to get Goblin. And here's my argument for this, alright? Not only are these familiars useful in the fact that they're giving you gold, they are giving you gems, and they're giving you Holy Stars, but their army talents are increasing the stack of damage by 100% when they are awakened, okay? Infantry, range, and cavalry. That is my argument for you. If anyone out there says otherwise, it may have something to do with the fact that there are 3 other familiars in this chain that are just like them, but they're paid. What are they? Huey Hops, Frostwing, and Queen Bee. Why? Because they are doing 150% 4 seconds for up to 5 times against an enemy squad. Clearly a bigger difference, isn't it? But even still, 100% that stacks is a good deal nonetheless. And so, my final input on that is these 3 are the best, in my opinion, I think just about anyone could use, traps or otherwise. Now, if we're talking what particular familiar overall does anyone to everyone may find to be of somewhat use, how exactly am I going to get this familiar upgraded? How am I going to do it quick and fast and up to date? Well, as of right now, I would recommend you do mostly, and I mean recommending as in like strongly recommending, that you do mostly springs with either 1 or 2 spires. Why? Is because you're ultimately wanting to increase the amount of packs that you can spam as often as possible, all right? The least amount of time that you have, thanks to the springs, and the fact that you're able to print them as quick as possible due to resources, this is ultimately what you want to achieve, because this is what is critically important in order to actually get these familiars up to 60, but also being able to get them to Elder. Now, if you have done everything I've said up to this point, you're probably wondering, well, what about the Awakened Familiar Orbs? Okay, on this subject, I don't think a person would need to spend for this. In fact, what I think you should do, and this is what I think anyone to everyone should do, is take advantage of the fact that the orbs themselves can be acquired through hell events, and they can be acquired through shipping lanes. They can also be acquired by gemming them. I think gemming ought to be the last option. In fact, I would rather spend than I would gem these orbs. But if you are someone that wants to get talent orbs, pay attention to hell events, especially with the update right now, because this is the best time to get those orbs. And frankly, even the shipping lanes are occasionally dropping as much as 10 or even 15, sometimes even 30 or so orbs at a time. So be on the lookout for that. Now, having that said, okay, when we're talking about familiars, those are the 3 I think in general all traps or any rally lead really ought to get. And it's not terribly expensive, having that it's only 80 orbs. Now, that is expensive, but not as expensive as if it would take you to get a maxed out Huey Hop on to Elder. Granted, it is also like $5 plus just to get a couple packs at a time. That's a lot. Like, that's a little over, probably about $200 to $300. And then not counting the fact that you also have to get these. And we already discussed how you can only get 20 of these for 20 bucks. So that's another $200. I bet you bare minimum a person will put $1,000 just to get these all the way upgraded over a length of time, probably in the excess of a few months. Okay, so in my opinion, these are last resorts. Don't bother with them yet. I don't think it's worth it. Having that said, though, another one that is worth mentioning is Tyrus, and the fact that Tyrus is going to give you a 60% boost to heroes' tactic skills, increasing squad attack delta's damage to enemy troops for 10 seconds. Noticeably different, and that I could see that being pretty useful. And another, well, I guess, mention, per se, is Tempestite, and the fact that he also stuns an enemy squad for 8 seconds. I think those are both good alternatives. And the fact that really they're not as difficult, and the fact that, where I was discussing how, like, you could get Trickstar, Jimmy Gremlin, and Goblin, but those are all pack 3. But in the case of Tempestite and Pyrus, well, obviously those are a little bit easier for the guy that's just starting out. One of them being in 2A and the other being in 2B. Okay, so whichever route you want to go with, I would get those two if you are not able to access pack 3 yet. Having that said, though, when it comes to the other familiars along that line, I think a lot of people are currently discussing the question of, well, okay, so what should I get? Should I get something that drops HP? Like, for example, for 40 orbs, you could get the Hearty Feast ability off of Evil Weevil, and it will increase your HP by 15%. That is a certainly good benefit. I think anybody to everyone could use that. But I think overall, 100% attack is probably a little better, don't you think? Just my 2 cents. If you look at, say, the Harpy, it increases the HP by 80% for 10 seconds. That, in my opinion, is substantially better compared to Evil Weevil. So if you are going to get HP, go after these, like Harpy, or, even then, well, what about, like, dropping enemy HP? This Aquarius is 15%. That doesn't hurt, but I still don't think it's worth it. And I say that because HP is not that big of a jump. 15% in defense is just useless. Okay, a 15% drop is nothing. But a 15% to dropping all of your enemy heroes for 5 seconds, that's a big deal. Vermophobia would be super helpful. In fact, I would say where the 3 attack heroes that I mentioned, being Jimmy Gremlin, Goblin, and then Trickstar, I would almost immediately get Mega Maggot right after that. Because Mega Maggot, if you can get a 4th one, I think Mega Maggot is the best option in that slot. In fact, I think it's probably one that if you can get it, get it. It's the best choice out of a lot of them that there are on the table. Because being able to stop heroes, even temporarily, is a big deal. Like, that's a pretty helpful thing. Now, there are some, in the case of, like, Jazik, where they drop enemy HP by 40%. These, in my opinion, are certainly better choices than where if you could drop army HP by 15. 40% is a definitely noticeable drop. Okay, and again, not as expensive as you can see. It's only 20. So again, just bear with me because I say this. Why are you giving me so many options? Well, I'm giving you these options because you need to understand that army HP in that sense is not as important as an 80% bonus or even a 50% increase. Anything above a 50% increase is noticeable. And defense, I don't personally think these are going to be that great. I say that because I don't think 80% defense compared to 100% attack is all that great. Like, I would rather get 100% attack all day than an increase to defense. But, of course, you can also get a 40% drop in a certain unit type. That could be useful. One thing I will mention, though, is the shields. I don't really know exactly how these pan out yet, but 7% protection could be useful in rallies, could be useful in traps. Now, as to how useful, though, we don't really know. But what we do know is that it's only going to happen when 12% of your cav troops have fallen. In my opinion, I don't think that's really that great compared to an attack bonus. Like, provided you could shield them, I don't think it's going to shield that much. And again, with these, like, where it's only 20 tomes, but it's a 15% increase, I mean, if you're just starting out and you just happen to have a couple of tomes lying around and you're not into the pack 3 stage yet, okay, understood, fair enough. But I really don't think even a 15% increase is something worth touching until you just happen to have a lot of tomes laying around. Or, for that matter, you've got the 4th and 5th slot. Until you get to that point, I don't think most people should bother with that. Because a 40% drop is a certainly better benefit, I think, than 15% attack, if that makes any sense. Like, that is how I think you should organize it, is pick what is giving you the biggest bonus against enemy HP or an increase to attack on your own troops by more than 25%. Because 15% ain't going to cut it, but neither is a drop by just a certain amount. Now, obviously, it's still early, so we still have more familiars out there to look out for, but just keep that in mind. But these are my recommendations in terms of picking out familiars and getting ready for, hopefully, what this will be is a long-term guide for you to kind of pick which ones I personally think you should get. And I say this because obviously this is not going to be something that a lot of people, including you and probably me, will have these overnight. Okay, this is something that I will do probably over a very long period of time. But I picked these three, Trickster, Gemin, Gremlin, and Goblin, as my three favorites until something else changes. Now, like in my case, I have Blackwing. I don't know what Blackwing is going to have yet, but when Blackwing does have an ability, hopefully I'll make a video on it and we'll discuss more about what it does then. But in the meantime, this is ultimately what to look out for. In the case of Blackwing, Hildrider, Gryphon, and then of course there is also Nosceros. We've got even Magus. We've got Tidal Titan. We've even got Mecha Trojan. And we've also got Bon Appetit, Gargantua, and Grim Reaper to look forward to. Because none of those familiars I've mentioned have an army talent as of the making of this video. So, having that said, needless to say, and most importantly, okay, because again, I know you guys give me all of the hate you need with those sayings. We'll quit repeating them, I promise. But having that said, I hope you guys will take my recommendations into consideration, and hopefully they will help you in the future. But needless to say, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.